Hello everyone, I'm Jeannie Godula, and this is Inside the Americas. Coming up, the U.S. race to the White House is officially underway. We'll take a closer look at the real winners and losers out of Iowa. Also on the way, the Carnival's preparations in Rio are in full swing, but this year, the mood has been dampened by fears over the spiraling outbreak of the Zika virus. And we'll go to a strange tourist site in Chile that once housed a neo-Nazi sect that practiced both child sexual abuse and slavery. But first, let's start with a look at the U.S. presidential race. Well, Election Day is still 9 months away, but this week the race to the White House officially got underway. It kicked off with the Iowa caucuses, the first nominating contest in the campaign. For the Republicans, ultra-conservative Ted Cruz managed to shut out billionaire Donald Trump, while on the Democratic side of the fence, Hillary Clinton won with a razor-thin margin over her challenger, Bernie Sanders. Sanam Chantier takes a look back.
A surprising setback for the man who's been stirring up a media storm with his contentious policies. Donald Trump was forced to concede defeat on Monday following the much-coveted caucus in Iowa, the first state to vote in the race to choose a Republican nominee for the White House. The result is seen as denting the billionaire's controversial campaign, but the 69-year-old vowed to fight on.
We will go on to get the Republican nomination, and we will go on to easily beat Hillary or Bernie or whoever the hell they throw up there.
With 4 points ahead of Trump, it was conservative Ted Cruz who took the stage to declare victory.
Tonight, the state of Iowa has spoken. Iowa has sent notice that the Republican nominee and the next president of the United States will not be chosen by the media. Will not be chosen by the Washington establishment.
Coming in at third close, Marco Rubio, the Florida senator, is now vying to be the party's preferred alternative to Trump and Cruz. In the Democratic camp, former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton emerged with a razor-thin victory.
I can tell you, I've won and I've lost there. It's a lot better to win, and it's also a great tribute to the organization and my supporters there.
Clinton was ahead of rival Bernie Sanders by less than 0.3%. The 74-year-old senator from Vermont is now questioning the results of Monday's caucus race.
I don't want to misspeak here, but it may be the case that some delegates were selected based on a flip of a coin. Not the best way to do democracy.
The race is now on for New Hampshire, a state whose voters are known for making up their minds at the very last moment.
The biggest winner out of Iowa just may be Republican Marco Rubio. The young Florida senator definitely exceeded expectations, coming just 1 point behind Donald Trump. Rubio is considered to be a more traditional establishment candidate, more than either Cruz or Trump. And with the New Hampshire primary just around the corner now, he is eager to show he's the right man for the job. Yuka Royer took a look.
Although he came in third, Marco Rubio was triumphant as he addressed his supporters.
This is the moment they said would never happen. Tonight here in Iowa, the people of this great state have sent a very clear message. After 7 years of Barack Obama, we are not waiting any longer to take our country back.
The 44-year-old waited until January to start campaigning in earnest in Iowa and garnered support of middle-of-the-road voters in the last week.
I don't want an entertainer. I don't want somebody that can't get along. I want somebody that understands the Constitution's a conservative, and I think Rubio's the guy.
Though young, Rubio has spent most of his career in politics. He was elected to the Florida House of Representatives in his 20s, and in 2010 he beat two seasoned rivals in a Senate election with the help of Tea Party supporters. The son of Cuban immigrants, he worked alongside Democrats to pass a bipartisan immigration bill in 2013.
I mean, you know, like you have this clown, Marco Rubio. I've been so nice to him. But he's in favor of immigration, and he has been. Really, you talk about weak on immigration. Nobody weaker.
During the campaign, Rubio insisted he wanted to unite his party. He's seen as the establishment candidate, less polarizing than the two frontrunners in the Republican nomination race.
Ted Cruz is the candidate of the conservative wing. Rubio is the candidate of the most centrist wing. He is the candidate the establishment wants to see winning the nomination because they consider that he has the best chances in November against Clinton.
Rubio is, however, staunchly conservative on issues like abortion. He also opposed a nuclear deal with Iran and said a war with the Islamic Republic was an option.
There's been a new development in the spiraling outbreak of Zika. The virus that's been linked to birth defects in babies has been spreading through the Americas via mosquito bites. But now at least one case has been confirmed of the virus being transmitted through sex. That case in Texas is also the first time the illness has been transmitted within the United States. But the majority of Zika cases are in Brazil, where a reported 1.5 million people are now infected. And that's raised alarm bells ahead of the Olympics this summer and the Carnival in Rio.
Drum beats are bellowing from the streets. Streamers, samba and multicolored costumes have been rolled out. With only days to go, Carnival season is upon Brazil once again. But this year's festivities are marred by the explosive spread of the Zika virus, with as many as 3 to 4 million infections predicted over the next year. The mosquito-borne disease has been linked to cases of microcephaly, in which babies are born with underdeveloped brains, and it's sweeping across Latin America. Meanwhile, Brazilian authorities are scrambling to rid the country of the virus.
There's a lot of concern in Rio because this is a city of big events. There'll be a concentration of people from all around the world which will facilitate the introduction of the virus. With the vector of the disease circulating, that's when you have the start of an epidemic.
The Carnival's not the only event that will be drawing hundreds of thousands to the South American nation. With the clock rapidly ticking down to the 2016 Olympic Games, organizers are warning travelers to take precautions.
We are working with the general preventing measures, like to take care about the stagnant water, and we are talking about the appropriate clothes to the people, because you know the mosquito used to be more dangerous during daytime.
Despite international alarm, officials in Rio have announced they will be able to run the games without problem, because by their start date on August the 5th, the main mosquito season is over.
Now, survivors of an abusive sect run by a pedophile ex-Nazi officer in Chile are now fighting for justice. One former victim, who's now become a lawyer, is heading up a suit against both Chile and Germany. But to add insult to injury, the remote colony is now making money off of tourism. The story of the commune, founded by German immigrants in the 1960s, is being told in a new movie called Colonia. Take a look.
This tourist resort in the Chilean countryside hides dark secrets. For 30 years, Colonia Dignidad, or Dignity Camp, was home to an abusive sect founded by German immigrants and run by pedophile ex-Nazi officer Paul Schäfer. 18 years ago, at the age of 20, Winfried Hempel left the colony. He became a lawyer and is now heading a lawsuit against the German and Chilean states for what he and others suffered.
Schäfer supervisaba todo. Se les obedecía ciegamente.
Schäfer supervised everything, and people would obey him blindly. If someone dared contradict him, he was immediately hit and punished, sometimes sent to what he called house arrest, which was a room where he would stay for a few days, sometimes a week, without food.
Schäfer collaborated with the dictatorship of Augusto Pinochet, whose secret police used the colony as a torture center for political opponents. After the fall of the regime and the return of democracy, Schaffer fled to Argentina. But he was caught and convicted of child abuse, arms possession, and human rights violations, and died in a Chilean jail in 2010. Today, around 160 former settlers still live here, keeping bees and chickens. They are proud of their Bavarian heritage, which they use to help attract 30,000 tourists a year.
No es que queramos hacer negocio de algo.
We're not looking to make a profit, but we are developing this activity because we have a social responsibility toward the people who are old today and whose only revenue until they die will be that one, because they can't work elsewhere.
But the celebration of German culture here has made many of the sect's victims and their families deeply uncomfortable. They want the village to be preserved as a memorial.
The fact that the current heads of this holding company want to have tourism in a place of death, torture, slavery and destruction is an aberration to us, a lack of respect, an offence to the memory of those who suffered and died here, an offence to those who are still alive and are hoping to know one day where the rest of their family members are.
Están los restos de sus familiares. A new film, Colonia, starring Emma Watson, now tells the story of the sect, where children were separated from their parents, kept as slaves, indoctrinated and tortured. Their voices are finally being heard, but the search for justice goes on.
Well, that's all the time we have for this Inside the Americas. We'll see you again next week for all the news from north to south.